It is time for some SMG best in slot. Right, just remember these are build skeletons, so adapt and change and improvise things that you feel that you personally need or would like. Now we're going to start off with high-end builds in this part 1, and I would like to remind you at this point that high-end SMG builds are now mostly redundant. We all complained about one very serious problem, which I'm pretty sure some of you are probably figuring out. High-end SMG build, how are you going to sustain being alive? Yeah, this is the problem we all faced. Although the DPS is very high, it doesn't leave a lot of room for you to build yourself to be close range and still do damage. About the only option we had was going things like Bloodsucker or Adrenaline Rush with Intimidate. However, these were actually considerably less damage than going for other options. First build is as follows. It is rocking 58% critical hit chance, 178 critical hit damage, plus 25 from Coyotes, plus 50 from Perfect Killer, giving us a grand total of 253% critical hit damage. We're running 3-piece Sokolov, Contractor's Gloves and Fox's Prayer, obviously Coyote's Mask. We're going to use the Dark Winter simply just because while Perfect Killer is up, that will give us our highest DPS rate. We do have 2 minor attribute slots spare. These will either be in your chest, holster or backpack. However, it's not really a requirement to find what is best suited for there, although I would recommend weapon handling just because it's the best of the bad options. For our second build, it's mostly identical, 58% crit chance, 183% crit damage, plus 25 from Coyotes, plus 50 from Killer, giving us a whopping total of 258. All we've done here is swap out the Sokolov holster for Grupo Sombra. It does mean that we have to change around some of our weapon attachments just to try and make up for the crit chance that we were losing from 3-piece Sokolov. But some of you might notice that we're running Obliterate and Unstoppable Force. When's the last time you saw someone recommend Unstoppable Force? The main reason for this is Obliterate is going to be our upfront damage, getting those juicy crits. And then we're going to utilise Unstoppable Force while running around like a mad person trying not to die. Simply just because Vigilance is going to have lower uptime. Unstoppable Force is in this instance going to be best in slot, and it will remain so for the majority of SMG builds just because of the run and gun playstyle. In terms of specialization, on the high end builds I do recommend Gunner simply because of the 10% armor on kill, although like I said at the beginning of the video, these builds now are mostly redundant. So in terms of DPS, we have the high-end 3-piece Sokolov coming in at 11.7 million DPS on the head and 9.1 on the body. But when we add Grupo, swapping out our 3-piece Sokolov just down to 2, we gain barely a 1% DPS increase, reaching those dizzying heights of 11.8 and 9.2. Now this is serving as kind of my control test. All builds from here on in will be directly compared to the 3-piece Sokolov build. Those percentiles you see on the right hand side, that is how much damage they will be doing more than high-end 3-piece Sokolov. Then we have a build that rarely gets seen anymore. It's Safety Distance 3-piece Sokolov, Contractor's Fox's pristine example for that perfect focus. This build is rocking 59 crit chance, 173% critical hit damage and 100% headshot. This has become pretty much redundant. It was at one point, going back many a year, probably one of the highest DPS builds in the game, but then we got Hunter's Fury and this no longer sees the light of day, although it is still a bit of fun and it is quite entertaining. We are running Vigilance this time because it does make optimal use of that shield peeking strat, so if you don't like shield peeking, I don't recommend it. And overall it is pretty hefty on the old DPS. It is able to beat our high-end 3-piece Sokolov on headshots by 8.85%, but we do 6.8% less on body shots. This is due to missing 1 killer, 2 Coyote's Mask, and 3 just being lower on the crit side anyway. Up next we have a very slept on build, Coyote's Mask, Cheska Backpack, and 4-piece Heartbreaker. We have 58% critical hit chance, 158% critical hit damage, and 100% bonus armor. This is very much a run and gun playstyle build, and it allows us to use Vigilance utilizing the bonus armor from Heartbreaker. This is actually a very fun build, and I don't actually see a lot of people run this. It might have something to do with the fact that the starting damage is pretty damn pathetic, but once you get it up there and you're able to maintain your stacks, it's one of the strongest SMGs out and about at the moment. So this probably looks a little bit confusing, but the top one, where it says Heartbreak 0, that is with 0 stacks, so you'll be doing 34 to 38% less DPS than a high-end 3-piece Sokolov SMG build. At 50 stacks, because we're using the Heartbreaker chest piece, we have mostly caught up, doing between 1.7 and 7.6%, but when we're at full stacks and at 1200 RPM, that is not hard to do, we're at 30 to 23% more DPS. The bonus to this build, although it's a slow start, is just the simple fact that we get double our armor. We're able to maintain pretty much, I'd say 90% uptime on Vigilance, and the overall DPS of this build is pretty damn epic. The one huge drawback is just the simple fact of it's a run and gun build. So once you're at max armor, you will need to somewhat disengage to let your stacks drop so you can rebuild them again. While you're at max stacks, you're only really gaining 2 stacks per second, which is not enough for you to face tank things, and you will inevitably die. Admittedly, it will take twice as long, but you're still going to die. Up next we have what a lot of people are running nowadays, 58% crit chance, 168 critical hit damage, plus 25 from Coyote's Mask, plus 50 from Perfect Killer, and we get plus 15 RPM. Obviously this is Strikers, so 4-piece Strikers, Coyote's Mask and Grupo Sombra. This is pretty much the go-to for the majority of Striker builds nowadays. And although this is some seriously hefty DPS, the issue here is you have no way to sustain yourself. So we're back into the issue of what the high-end builds had originally. Now, admittedly, we are doing some hefty DPS, so we're able to kill things before they kill us, but it is still pretty damn easy to become overwhelmed. At which point, you're either playing an AR playstyle, in which case use an AR, or you're dead. Now, at 0 stacks, Strikers will do 22% less damage than our 3-piece Sokolov high end. At half stacks, so that's 50, we've got 16 and 15, and then at full stacks we have 55 and 54% more DPS. Now, there are Striker SMG builds that allow you to get up to, I think the highest I have made is 31 and the highest I've seen is 24 million DPS. The issue with these are that they use the chest talent, and although it is remarkably easier to get and maintain 200 stacks with an SMG due to the fire rate, as we are rocking 1380 RPM, nothing to scoff at, you're still having to get and maintain 200 stacks. You'd be much better off sticking to 18 million DPS and only having to get 100 stacks. It's a very minor decrease in the grand scheme of things. To be perfectly honest, that level of DPS is basically going to chew through everything pretty damn quick. Then there comes the issue of the simple fact of this build has no real way to sustain itself other than obviously running gunner, 10% armor on kill. The quicker and easier you can kill things, the more armor on kill you will gain effectively. Rather than getting 1 kill a second and 10% armor on kill, you can get 2 kills a second, which is 20% armor on kill per second, obviously. However, people will still run blue armor cores. Now, if you have to run blue armor cores, I do not suggest going above 2. 2 will still give you pretty substantial DPS. However, if you go to 3 armor cores, you will be better off running a Hunter's Fury build, which has a lot more quality of life involved. Speaking of which, this video is going to be ending here. Have fun, good luck, don't die. It's bad for the health.